Now, we will begin the story, The Parrot Who Wouldn't Talk. Let's begin it. Do you all have seen pets, or do you have a pet? Like there are different pets we can keep, sometimes dog, animals like rat, cat. At some point of time, we have all have had a pet or wanted one and wanted to buy one or get one pet at home. But having a pet is not just fun. A pet needs proper care and attention. Like you need attention from your friends saying that I have a pet, and you need to take proper care of the pet. There are some basic trainings, and the pets need to be trained in a proper way, and there is a particular way of doing it. Like we give order to the dog to bring newspaper. So, there are proper trainings we give to our pets for doing particular things. This story is written in the first person. The author has written this story about his Bua, aunt. This author's aunt decides to keep a parrot as a pet. So, the author has written the story in a funny way, as the author himself observes the situation. The name of the lesson is The Parrot Who Couldn't Talk, because the Bua is willing to train the parrot to talk in a hope that the parrot will speak and talk. The author has tried to make this story in a funny way, in a humorous way. And the author is a well-known person, well-known author. His name is Ruskin Bond. I will show you the picture also. This story is from the place North India. The story author's grandmother bungalow, and it is the story of a talking parrot. We all know that sometimes parrots speak, they talk continuously. So, you are not beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. These are the words which Aunt Ruby would taunt quite often to the unfortunate parakeet or the parrot. But the parrot, who glared silently at everyone from its ornamental cage at one end of the long room. The parrot is very sad, and the aunt is continuously telling all these things, because it's a story of old days. So, in those distant days, almost everyone from India and also from Europe, they used to keep pets like birds, parrots. There are different kinds of birds which they used to keep as pet. Some birds are called as parakeet in India. They are the all birds, but different places people call it by different name. Also there are love birds, as some of the smaller ones were called at some other places. You can see on the image on the screen. So there are different birds in different sizes, different colors. So according to the situation, according to the place, they have different names. Sometimes these birds which are the pets, they become great talkers. They are very good in mimicking, and sometime also they would learn to recite the entire sentences, the entire mantra, like our old people, they religiously chant some mantras. So these parrots could copy those mantras also. And also sometime, being a parent, we teach our child to study continuously and say, study child, study. So these parrots also copy the same sentences, study child, study, or for the benefits of the boys, for the students, and some teaching sentences like don't be greedy, don't be greedy. So they continuously keep saying and make people laugh. So the parrots are good at mimicking the sentences. So they just copy the sentences. And whatever sentences they speak, they learn it in a slow manner. But yes, if the repetition is done quite well, then they can speak. Just like in our families, if there are few sentences which are repeated quite often, and also if a proper training is given to the parrots, they can express those sentences. But this parrot, which is in the story, was not interested in talking. This bird refused to talk. This parrot was bought by the bird catcher in a cage, and that bird catcher used to visit all the houses of the author's colony and would ask the people for the parrot, to buy the parrot. Sometime that bird catcher used to paint the bird in another color just to attract the people and sell those birds. If the people like the bird, only then they can buy the bird. So that was his business. So and in this story, when my Bua bought the parrot, neither of my granny and nor grandfather were keen on keeping the caged birds. They used to say that these birds are these are the natural birds, natural animals, so they should not be kept in a cage. But that Bua, my aunt Bua, she threatened to throw a tantrum if she didn't get her way. So the parents allowed. And anyways, she insisted on keeping the parrot, and she insisted on teaching it to talk. But the parrot took an instant dislike to my aunt and resisted all her blandishments. The bird was not liking to talk to Bua, to Aunt Ruby. Just like sometime my Aunt Ruby liked to talk to Parrot and tell the parrot to kiss on her cheeks. But the parrot's face, the parrot used to just back away from the Aunt Ruby. And the parrot's face was like, my Bua used to keep her face close to the bars of the cage, but the parrot was not interested, and his eyes in anger was keeping smaller and smaller. And at one time, the parrot lunged forward without warning and knocked my aunt's spectacles off her face. So Bua should, because Bua had not taught anything like to not to behave in this manner, so it happened. After that, Aunt Ruby gave up her endearments and became quite hostile towards the poor bird. She used to make faces at the bird and used to quite often tell the bird, you can't talk, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. And few days later, in the afternoon, when everyone at home was taking a nap, because the story is written by the author, so that is why here I is used. I gave the parrot its lunch, and then I saw the bird is in cage every time, so I just deliberately left the cage door open. And a second later, the bird was winging its way to the freedom of the nearby garden of mango orchards. And as the bird flew away, at the same time, my grandfather came to the veranda and said, I just saw your aunt's parrot has escaped. And the author replied, that the cage door is weak or quite loose, I think. And he said with a shrug, well, I don't suppose, well, we'll see it again sometime later. And Aunt Ruby was upset when she heard the news. And then she also said to the all family members that she will buy another bird. All the family members this time said, no, 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 we will buy a bowl of goldfish this time. And somehow they put off her promising, saying that fishes we will arrange. But he replied, goldfish don't talk. And she protested, well, neither did your birds, said the grandfather. So there was a communication between the grandfather and the aunt. So grandfather said, you can listen to the music all day. We will bring you a gramophone that you can play music full day and enjoy. It will speak just like parrot, and you will be happy. Then aunt just was quiet that time. I thought that now the parrot has flown away and we will not see the parrot again, but maybe it's missed the green chilies. Few days later, I found a bird sitting on the veranda. You can see the veranda image on the screen, veranda railing, and that bird was looking expectantly at me with its head cocked to one side, and I was having a mango and I unselfishly gave the parrot half of my mango, because mango is a fruit and maybe birds like it, so I gave it to the parrot. The bird was happy to see the mango and the bird started enjoying it. And when Aunt Ruby emerged from her room and she gave a cry of surprise saying, "Look, it is my parrot came back." And hearing the sound, parrot was a bit angry, maybe, I guess. With a loud squawk, the parrot flew out of her reach and, perching on the nearest rose bush, glared at her and shirked in my aunt's familiar tone, saying, just like my aunt used to tell the parrot, "You are no beauty, you cannot talk, you can't sing, you can't dance." So the parrot in a similar way said, "You are no beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance." So these words he repeatedly kept telling. And listening all those words, Aunt Ruby, she went ruby red and dashed indoors. But that was not the end of the scene. The parrot became a frequent visitor to the garden and veranda of our home. And whenever it saw Aunt Ruby, it would call out, "You are no beauty, you are no beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance." So we can say the parrot had learned to talk after all, because that repeat sentences the parrot was listening for a quite long time. So they keep a good memory, and when they learn it, they can talk those same sentences. This is the image of the writer, Ruskin Bond. He is the author of this story. He was born on 19th of May in the year 1934. He is 87 years old now. He is from Kasauli, Punjab State Agency, from British India Times. His occupation is author and is also a poet. Thank you so much.